Hello and welcome. So we have a rectangle is drawn so that the width is 8 inches longer than the height. If the rectangle's diagonal measurement is 33 inches, find the height. So first off, let's draw what we do have. So we have ourselves a rectangle. And the width of my rectangle, right, the width is, meaning equals, that's a good keyword there, 8 inches longer than the height. So my height would be whatever that number is, and the width is that height, but 8 inches longer. Well, how would I measure something 8 inches longer? What operation would we use? Well, that would be addition. So the width is the height plus 8, and the height is just whatever the height is. And then it mentions that if the rectangle's diagonal measurement, screwed up in the same place, is 33 inches, then we're finding the height. Well, the diagonal just connects one edge to the other, so that would be the diagonal for my rectangle here. Notice, what does that form? That forms a triangle, and because it's a rectangle here, we have not just any triangle, we have a right triangle. So I know the diagonal is 33 inches, and I know I have a right triangle here. More than that, I now have 1, 2, 3 sides of that right triangle. This is Pythagorean theorem, right? Now, a reminder on what Pythagorean theorem is. It is leg squared plus the other leg squared equals the hypotenuse squared. Now, the order of your legs doesn't matter, so I'm just going to go, my first leg is h plus 8 squared, plus my other leg, which is just h squared, equals my hypotenuse, which is 33 squared. And then we just need to solve for our height. That's literally what it's asking, is the height. So once we solve for h equals, we are done. So going through this process, we'd say, all right, my goal is h equals. I have h in a few different places here, which means that what I need to do is get rid of those parentheses. They're not helping us. We need to combine our h's together. Now, don't you dare distribute that exponent. You cannot, because of that addition in the middle. You can only distribute exponents over multiplication or division. What this 2 means, that square means you're writing h plus 8 twice, and then you're distributing it. All right, so h times h gives me h squared plus 8h plus 8h plus 64 plus the other h squared from my original expression equals my 33 squared, which we can just put in our calculator. That gives me 1089. And then from there, we just combine our like terms. So we have 1h squared plus 1h squared, that is 2h squared, plus our 2h term, so that'd be 16h, plus 64 equals 1089. Now this square tells me I'm going to be solving a quadratic. Now there's a couple ways we can do it. Solving by completing the square, solving by factoring, solving by a quadratic formula, right? Now for all of these, I would recommend, let's just check that 1089 to the other side. All right. Now, because that's a really big number, I would not recommend factoring, nor would I recommend completing the square. It's just going to be messy. So I would recommend that we just use quadratic formula on this. So we have 2h squared plus 16h plus, and I'm going to put this in my calculator off to the side here, 64 minus 1089, we get negative 1025 equals 0. Now we have our a, b, and c terms here. So h equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. In case you wanted that written out normally, that's x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. There we go. And so that's what we just used, and we're solving for h and not x, which is why it's h equals. And that's literally it. Now we just need to simplify this down. Now our answer here says to round to the third decimal place, so I don't need to do any fancy simplifying. All I really need to do here is just put this in my calculator. I'm going to evaluate a few pieces just so I have less to screw up if I type it in all at once. So negative 16 plus minus, I can tell it's going to be over 4, 2 times 2. And then the square root, and then I'm going to put that 16 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 1,025 in there, and we get 8,456. Cool. Now I'm going to turn to my calculator. We have negative 16 plus the square root of 8,456 all over 4. And we have negative 16 minus the square root of 8,456 all over 4. Now we have these two answers here. H either, well, it could equal both, honestly, but we have two answers. We have the 18.989 and negative 26.989. Now we're solving for a height of the rectangle. That is a distance. Can those be negative? No. All right, so the negative 26 answer is going to kick the bucket. We can't use it because it's nonsensical. We cannot have a negative length. So that means 18.989. 18.989 inches is my final answer. And there you go. That's all we need to find our height for the rectangle. Thanks for watching.